Alrighty, Sandown done and dusted. Hope you enjoyed the video. It's kind of nice to put into the old practice what you preach thing, yeah. For those that did watch the video, um, obviously I talked about in the wet, just not necessarily being the fastest out there, but being nice and consistent and not making mistakes. That got me the win on Thursday night with some good strategy as well. But we had good dry pace. But being able to drive drive consistently and stay on the slicks, and getting a second CPS out of the way early, really paid benefit. So, yeah, emphasising the wet stuff, like I said, just smooth, consistent, repeatable laps, and good things will happen. But so yeah, we come off the back of a great Sandown result. We now move to Adelaide. I'm going to be very honest. I have done bugger all practice for this video. We've got Bathurst 1000 for Pro Invitational tomorrow with Blake Warboys. So to be honest, I'm not going to put a bunch of laps in before that. So I don't want to throw the rhythm for Bathurst, and this is a very different track. So look, this lap is a very good lap. It's hitting hitting the marks. It's the right lines. It's the right break points. All those bits and pieces. My biggest advice I can give you for Adelaide is be aggressive without overdriving the car. Okay, so you really want to flow the car nicely, stop the car well, but not hustle the car too hard into a corner. It's very smooth surface, and it certainly slides around a lot. Um, but yeah, biggest bit of advice I can give you is turn one, obviously getting through there cleanly. Slowdowns are just going to kill you, especially early in the race. For those that aren't across that, slowdowns on the first lap or even the second lap have a big impact. Are a bigger slowdown traditionally than later in the race. So you really want to be mindful and cautious of that. That not going to make too many mistakes in that early one or two laps, especially there. But we'll play this through as we do on board. Um, Everything is default for the setup. It's a standard brake bias at 63.9 and 6 on the pedal. So I haven't changed anything. We're just driving it and hoping for the best. So let's get to it. Let's bang out a lap, and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, so it's a 20.562. Definitely more in it. I think the quickest I've gone around here is like a 20.1. But setup's different, all those bits and pieces. But again, the more laps you do, the more repeatable it is. It's not about your one lap pace; it's about your consistency in your race pace. So you don't get suckered into just doing hot laps. You should jump into a server and try and do a 10, 15 lap run. Just build the pace as you go. Don't just go bang straight away. The first couple of laps, just make sure you get through one. just things like that, and then build on your pace and your repeatability. And once you can create that repeatability. I keep using that word, but that's the reality. The consistency then becomes there, and you can start pushing the car a little bit further on those one lap flies. So over practicing hot laps can create bad habits, and before you know it, you know you might qualify well, but you could be someone that's qualifying well but constantly falls through the field. Or your tire wear is high and things like that. So, yeah, my advice is definitely focus on, yeah, race runs, especially a track like this. Tire deg is going to be high. It's going to use the front. It's going to use the rears. There's a couple of spots I'm using second gear at the moment. I might try to go to third to try and look after the rear tire. You can hear in a couple of spots a bit of rear locking as you're coming in. That's probably just really poor blipping and downshifting from me. But it could be in the setup a little bit, the way that it's working on the dampeners as well. So setup wise, 2021, 63.9, 6. It's pretty soft in the rebound, pretty stiff in the in the bump. Soft rear spring, pretty generic front and back really around dampeners. Spring, trying to achieve a bit of rear grip in the spring rate by the look of it. So 80 litres, 107.2. I do like the gearing this time. I can't remember last time if the gearing was a click different. I'd have to have a look at that. But yeah, I actually felt like the gearing this time just seems a little bit neater. But I don't know. This could be me. I haven't driven here since last time we were here, whenever that was. So yeah, it's it's a fairly straightforward set. 145 in the front, 164. So yeah. Anyway, that's where it's at. So this lap is straight off the set as it is in the server. So look down into one. It's a real fine line here between and I will say I reckon the gearing is different because I'm positive it was a rev limiter in fifth into here last time we were here. Don't know. I could be wrong. But look, brake wise, you certainly don't want to overdrive it into here. As best you can, try and avoid that. Brake marker wise, we're on the pedal basically around the, what is that, the 100 board, just before. So just past the white line is where I'm braking. If I went cockpit view, which is my correct seating position, you can see it's basically right on the white line. Okay. I just like to go this view because you can see, not that it really matters, does it? 63.9 and 6. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Do you prefer that view or do you prefer the cockpit view, which is my actual view? Because really all you're looking at is this. But anyway, we'll go cockpit for this one. So look, down to fourth. It's a solid pedal pressure stop, and then you're on the bleed and trailing all the way in. And you do want to pitch the car in pretty early as well. You're really pitching it in as you approach the end of the. Don't push that button. Push, bang, right at basically at the end of the Adelaide wall. But you can see still plenty of trail brake. But once I'm sort of happy the car's in and rotating, you're picking up the throttle early as well because you want it to glide over the curb. Same thing I always say, but get it gliding over the curb. A little bit of real estate left there. Nothing wrong with that. Obviously, that's an immovable object, so yeah, you don't want to hit that. I don't know why. Anyway, I think I said this last time I did a video. But yeah, so you see a bit of a crossover there. But you want to be nice and consistent on the throttle over that first bit. You can see it's just fairly nice. Get to the next curb, obviously. I mean, it's pretty clear. Where's the rules thingy? Oh, why it's all over there. Anyway, bring it over here. Keep half of your car on the painted curb to avoid a slowdown. So this is where I think it's a bit of a, because as far as I'm concerned, half the car is here. So I don't know where that's determined. This is the frustrating part about this corner. It says keep half your car on the painted curb. I've got more than half my car over the painted curb. I don't know at what point that's referenced. But obviously, you want to try and get the car through here as neatly as you can. Um, and again, picking up the throttle um, once you're over and on the curb nicely. So bang, straight hard back into the throttle. Um, Change your direction here. It's a kind of one of those ones where you don't want to fight the car. You want to be coming out as nice. Probably there's nothing wrong with the angle the cars come out. But obviously, the tighter you are here, the tighter it just makes the exit here a little bit, and the car can get a bit of a slide. So you want to use, if you need to, a little bit of curb, but not too much, in my opinion. I've picked up a bit of curb this time. Didn't upset the car, but I do breathe out of the throttle there, and you can see as I started to come back in the throttle, I just had to flatten it as it come off that curb, because it will just slide a bit. So definitely think about how you get the car through there as smoothly as you can. Positioning the car, obviously you can float it out to the wall. You want to be shooting back across and getting the car as square as you can, as we always talk about under braking. Now, um, if you're still fighting to get back over to the left, brake the car as straight as you can towards the left. Okay, so if you start braking here, right, you're not going to brake in a straight line down here. You're going to be braking out. Okay, but you really want to make sure that as you're trailing out, that the steering wheel is straight as possible, and you kind of give yourself a point to shoot for. So if you're here, you want to shoot for the curb. So get your braking done really aggressively. Now you can see it's uphill, and then it plateaus and drops off a little bit. So it's actually quite easy here to lock a front right, sorry. Actually, I should say a lot of people do lock front lefts here as well, which is odd given you're going right. But it's because of this little bump. As you approach it, you can see there, it just unsettles the car. And you see it in real life as well. I reckon if we go TV1, you'll see what I'm talking about a little bit more. But so on the brakes, you can just see right there, see where the car just bang, you can see the actual lock mark. So that's just in that little bump. So just think about your car positioning when you're into there. But obviously, it's nice, hard, um, you know, pedal pressure. I've got a little bit of modulation going on with it. Again, just over those bumps. Just a little bit of a rear lock in the car. Down to second gear. Now, this is a section where I think I haven't tried it yet, but I reckon you could get away with third gear. If you nail second gear here on a qualifying lap, it's going to be better. Okay, but it's obviously really easy to ignite wheel spin in second gear through this section. You're constantly on a radius. Third gear settles it down, but it's just obviously a little bit laggier, and you've got to nail it. You've got to be on the throttle early. You've got to hit your marks and drive the car off really well. Second gear is a little bit more forgiving, but there's more risk to it. So just try different things and see what you think. But getting nice up onto the curb, nice and tight to the tire bundle, obviously a movable object again, so tight but don't hit. Flow the car out. Get on the throttle nice and aggressively as well, obviously over that curb. I reckon it's the same old story, isn't it? But over the curb, bang, pick up the throttle early, boom, away she goes. So you can use more exit. You can definitely carry more speed through there and run the car a bit wider. It's just all about how you sacrifice to how you drive. Yeah. You might be able to use more here and get the car back over nicely, but for me at the moment, just a nice, tidy, clean lap. Don't want to over commit the car, and yeah, there's more to play with out here. Obviously, like I said though, that does mean you've got to fight the car more back over to the right here. So braking roughly at the end of the Granio board or wall from an onboard, as you come in towards the 50. Again, it's not a big, it's sort of a hit on the pedal, but then pretty quickly out on a bleed and a trail. Second gear again, and picking up the throttle pretty early. So probably a touch late there. You can see maybe I just trailed out a little too quick because I had to grab a little bit more on entry. So didn't quite get on the throttle as early as possible. Actually, to a delta on here when I was watching the delta, probably lost about a tenth from entry here to entry to the next corner, and I would say that tenth is that. predominantly because second gear engine braking is quite high, and the earlier on the throttle, the quicker that momentum is out of the corner. So, but again, not end of world stuff. Nice and consistent on the throttle on the way out. You got to be very careful here. There is a camber pitch in the road, so it's really easy for the rear to get a bit excited. And as you can see, previous laps, pretty easy for the rear to get excited and have a slide here, and it just costs you so much time. As soon as you got wheel spin out of here, in any of these 3 stop-start sections, so to speak, or staircase, yeah, as soon as you're getting wheel spin, it's burning massive time here again because it's second gear, so it's slower speed, instant wheel spin, loss of momentum and drive. So be very, very, gentle and smart with the throttle. As soon as you can, get back to full throttle. Pretty much got there at the end, but just if you can't get to full throttle, it doesn't matter. You're going to get to the limiter before you get to full throttle. So, it's really not a big issue. But yeah, nice and smooth. Again, on the brakes, just a stab at it. You'd be surprised here. There's more to gain on exit than there is on entry through this whole area, right? If you're aggressive on the entry, the car will float. It just feels a bit disconnected to the track. So if you're trying to push too aggressively, it's a bit loose in the rear, and then that creates a bit of a vague feeling in the front of the car as well. So keep the car under you, drive it nice, smooth and clean, up over the curb again. We're early on the throttle, driving it straight out to the last bit of the Repco wall, over the curb. And again, this is probably a spot where you can consider using third gear if you want. There'll be a little bit of time delta gain because you're on the limiter for a bit longer here. So you will pick up a little bit on entry if you go to third gear. But again, it's about then getting on the brake the right way, getting the car rotated over the curb and out in third gear. So, or maintain second, click third early. I click third on the exit just off the drop of the exit curb. We'll get to that. But yeah, so there's a few different ways that you could attack this depending how you do it. Third gear was definitely, and I reckon, I feel like I might even put it in the comments or in the description about the gear ratio last time we were here. I think it was a click up. So I reckon third gear was more manageable. So it'd just be an interesting one. But try it. Don't just do the status quo. So again, it's just nice, consistent trail brake. Pick up that throttle nice and early. Get the car rotated in nice. There's no immovable object here, so you can definitely use a lot of curb. What you want to do, though, when you're jumping these curbs is exactly that. You don't want to hit the curb and land before the next part. Okay, so if I go, let's see if I can't get a camera angle right front suspension. No, we'll just use this and we'll play the game. Whee! Okay, cool. So that's not a bad angle. We're going to come around here. Oh, this is all going to go to crap real quick. Oh, yep, there we go. I am not camera operator. All right, so we'll drop this down a bit as well. Cool. So what you don't want, don't be a pain. All right, we'll go this way. What you don't want is when you come off the curb, and there's another spot where this is important as well, but there's quite a few around this track. Okay, no shit. Control. There we go. Got it. We're back. So when you jump the curb, right, you want to make sure that you hit it at the right point, that you actually jump the curb. So you can see the rear comes down just on top, and see that jump, right? So hits, but then rebounds up. Now, there's plenty, as we talked about in the dock, it's pretty soft in the rebound, so it's going to return pretty quickly. Is the reality. The stiffer it is, the slower it is to rebound. So that's my understanding of it anyway. So if this is coming down pretty quick, but what can happen is if you don't land correctly on the exit, it'll upset the car and bounce the thing back up again. So you can't get back on the throttle nice and square. So it's just something to consider. And there is another corner where it's really relevant as well. But on exit, nice and consistent on the throttle. right out over the curb. Now I grab third as the car drops off the curb here. And again, it's the same reason. It's just to settle the wheel spin down in second gear. You probably get a third earlier. I'm just not sure about the momentum yet. So try third earlier, see if it works. But effectively, when I'm ready, excuse me, when I'm ready to get to third, or full throttle, sorry, I'm cracking third gear. So down the straight, pretty straightforward, until we get to here. So braking around the kink / the 100 board. Okay. So just past the 100 board actually. And it's a little stab. It's really just a stab to get the weight on the nose. I'm dropping to fifth gear. Now again, I'll talk about the gearing. I think it was different. Sixth, you could manage through here. So far, sixth, I've got so much understeer and it just feels docile. So I'm using fifth. More laps that I do, that may change. But at the moment, it's fifth gear, and it's quite an aggressive snap on the steering. So from an onboard, if we just play this through, so you can sort of see it's just a hit, and then let the car kind of dance and talk and do what it needs to do. But yeah, bang straight down to fifth, rotated, and you can see it gets that initial turn into the car. And then you can just find that nice little happy balance. I'm just trailing the car just to get it in towards the wall. You want to get it hooked up on the curb. If you don't, you're just going to be taking forever to get back on the throttle, or you're going to be in the fence on the exit here. So, you know what? With the whole MotoGP thing, I really hope that if this gets rescanned, I hope it doesn't, that there's an option to still run like a legacy layer of Adelaide, because this is a fun corner. Anyway, so picking up the throttle very aggressively, back to full throttle early. So it's a lift just to get the car in and rotated, down to second gear. So you're using the engine braking to turn the car a bit. And then bang, hard back on the throttle as soon as you can, and just float the car out to the wall. You just want to get the mirror near it, obviously. You don't want to hit it. Yeah, but you see it's had a little lift there. That was just a nervous lift. I didn't need to. And I reckon if you look at the correlation between that little Sook lift and, yeah, so steering input was fine, and I was actually turning the car out. So it was just a silly lift, but that is what it is. Didn't cost a lot of time, but I'm sure it cost a few hundreds or something. But yeah, commit to the point where you know you can stay in full throttle. So down into here, being a street track, certainly white lines come into play. You don't want to over brake here. Really easy to overcommit into here, and easy to pop a motor because you're shifting. It's really 150 meters at 240 something k's an hour. 240. So, 240 k's an hour, 150 meters to stop, and really you're turning in by 50-ish. So you've got 100 meters to stop the car from 240. So you're very aggressive on the downshifts here. And really we talk about exits more than entries. And this corner, it's frustrating. During qualifying, you've got to maximize this entry. You really do. You've got to push to the limits to find time. You lose so much time in here by being a little bit complacent. But during the race, it's that consistency and repeatability you're chasing. So you kind of alter how you attack it. But you will find 2/10 easily if you can nail an overcommitted braking zone into here, you'll find 2/10 like that. But equally, like I said, during the race, it's easy to throw 4/10 away. So it's a tricky one. White line, this is probably the most difficult one in the lap. You can see a couple of brake block marks where I've touched the white line a little bit further up. I'll show you, and you can see one here as well. Stay off the white line. Okay, so you're either going to be sitting in here or 50-50. 50-50, but I'll show you why 50-50 can be a problem. Or you just sit the thing on the wall and stay inside of here. Okay. Obviously, big brake application, down through the gears pretty aggressively, and you can see I'm keeping the car fairly straight here. If we just go back, sorry. So brake lock-up number 1 from previous laps is bang right there. So you can see it's sitting right on the white line, and I tried to commit pretty hard on the brake pedal here, and it just locked on the wire. Second one was here. You can see, again, coming off the white line into a gripped area, locked again, and I carried that all the way through because I just couldn't stop the car. So, yeah, keeping the car nice and straight, and you can see you're sort of modulating the pedal as best you can, but you carry a big amount of pedal pressure all the way into this. And that's what I talk about, that just commitment level of getting the car in here and stopped. You can see every other braking zone on this track, it's peak, and trail. Here, it's peak for 100. Well, we've gone past the 50 board. We broke it at the 150 or just before the 150. So you're almost at, your peak pedal input for 160 odd meters in this stop, which just puts into context how difficult it can be. So, but as you start to rotate the car in, and you want to brake the car as straight and as long as you can because it's going to maximize this braking zone, and you don't want to be pitching in too early because it makes this far too tight and you don't get the exit off. So definitely keep the car straight. And again, in the race, think about your racecraft. If you're racing people, massive opportunity here for people to get up the inside. Yeah. But if you're defending, it's slow as a wet wig. So think about who you got around you, what point of the race it is it worth defending, yada, yada, yada. Sometimes, as we talk about, but sometimes just letting that position go if there's space behind that car behind you, and you feel like your pace is pretty similar, don't defend it. You're just burning time. Like I said, later in the race, defend the hell out of it. Hell, use everything you can. But if you're early in the race or mid-race, losing one spot to sit in behind and learn some things, you'd be surprised what you can pick up following anybody. It doesn't matter what their pace is. Follow someone and you'll learn a lot. So just think about it from a racecraft point of view. Defending is going to cost you time to the car in front. If you've got that space where you're not going to lose more than one position and you can slot back in fairly easily, save some fuel, look after the car, look after the tyres, and it'll come back to you. So just think about that. You race them in the pits then. Think about an undercut. Get back in front of them, adapt what you've learnt and go. Anyway, enough about that. But so nice little turn in. You see clear the brake, grabbed a little bit more. It's just a touch off apex there. Again, probably just needed that trail a little bit longer, but wasn't too bad. Focus on the exit, square the car up. Second gear out of here, hard on the throttle, up into third. And then you really just want to balance the car here as best you can. So I'm doing it. You can drive it a bit harder in here if you want and brake a bit later, harder, whatever. But I'm kind of just looking after the car a bit, focusing on getting the car to where I want to here. And then this is another one of these jump curbs that we were talking about. So, and I've got to say this set, and I don't know if the dampeners are different to the last, but I feel like you can really jump this curb a little bit neater and the car doesn't react and bounce as much off the curb. So whereas the previous time we raced here, it was kind of a bit awkward in this section. So I do feel like the set's improved a fair bit here, but like I said, it might not be that different. It could just be placebo. But out of the curb, holding third gear here, rotating the car in, bang, picking up that throttle over the curb, and this is one of those ones, so we want to jump the whole thing. You can see the front clears, the rear just catches the top of it, but it's settled off. It just nice and smooth. There's no, so out to the curb, right on the edge. Don't want to use too much more than that. It will catch the grass and put you in the Repco tyre bundle. But yeah, nice and consistent on that trail brake. Pick up that throttle. You can see here it just pops up over the curb nicely. Clears the front, which is the key, and the rear just kisses. And then the car's square and away you go. You can just feed the throttle in. Obviously, big one is I haven't maximized this, so I could have carried more speed through there. But this curb, this tire bundle is just a vacuum. Obviously, you touch it just a little bit, it just sucks the car in and puts you into the wall hard. So again, you want to maximize it during qualifying, but during the race, think about it. Risk mitigation. Yeah, definitely want to try and avoid that where you possibly can. So, floating out to the wall, third gear, we're going to grab fourth for sure. Up over the curb, use a bit of that, keep the car to the left. And then you can get up on this, I guess, and use the curb a bit to angle yourself in, staying off it. And then it's just balancing the throttle. And again, I'm positive you catch a limiter if fourth into here as well. Yeah, nice and smooth on the throttle. Up over the curb, grabbing a bit of bitumen on the inside there. You can use a little bit more if you want, no big deal. And then back into, I used a bit of brake there, interestingly. No brake lights, but again, just a bit of a sook touch on the brake pedal. Back in the throttle nicely, off the back of the curb. And again, this is a section that you can overdrive this pretty easily. It does go a bit off camber as you get closer, but look, I'm braking around the white line, trying to keep the steering wheel as straight as possible. And you can see as the steering wheel's straight, the car's just got a little bit of slip angle in it. So I'm not having to turn the car back to the right. But obviously any grass here is extremely slick. So yeah, avoid that as best you can. Get the thing out of the yellow line, down to second gear here. Nice trail in with the rotation. Again, I've got this habit. I need to fix it. It's good watching your own stuff back, and I suggest that as well. But I keep doing this, and again, that's just I haven't done enough laps here yet to get that trail locked in. So, all those little things add up to a few tenths each lap. So you could go back and watch this video, and I'll go back and watch my lap as well. But each time I'm doing that, it's costing me a little bit of momentum in the middle of the corner. So yeah. But anyway, nice and smooth on the throttle. Run the car out. You want to square it up as quick as you can on the steering, but run the car out towards the curb. You can see I didn't quite maximize it, and that's just that little bit of extra brake I grabbed in the middle there. So whether I needed to or not, who knows? It's just a confidence thing. But yeah, hard on the throttle, rock and roll, and yeah, through to the finish for a 1 minute 20.562. So a decent lap. Didn't set the world on fire, but happy enough with it from a delta. So you can see at the moment, that's that. Oh, did I actually do it? Yeah. So 20.2. So 20.4 is an opti in this session. But like I said, it's a handful of laps. It's not really relevant. It's just more about a nice clean lap. 20.2 is my overall opti, and that was from the previous time we were here. So you can see I've maximized split 1 and split 3, only 100th and 200ths, but there's a couple of tenths there missing in the middle, but that's to a 347. So yeah, we're a little bit far off. So 144 to a 338, a 964 to an 892. So there's a tenth of gain there overall, and then we're looking at a 2-1 or a 2-3 to a 3. So have gone a 2-3 in the optimal in this session. So whatever I've done there worked well. But where's the time for me on this one? This is what everyone should do is definitely in split 1 and a little bit in split 3. Not much, but a little bit in split 3. So, but there's a tenth in split 3 just to the current session. So, yeah, that's probably that little bit of into the hairpin and into that last corner, the way I broke the car in there. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's that. It should be fun. It is definitely a track that you want to maximize the start of the lap best you can. Think about strategy. Definitely, it's a track where the undercut is going to pay off. It's a hard track to pass that, but if you've got a big tire delta, you can get it done. But you've got to be patient and smart about it. A lot of what you see, a lot of the incidents, especially when there is that overcut, undercut, and the race incidents that happen, is the guy on the fresher tire kind of uses up the braking performance. So you brake really hard and you get in underneath the car on older tires, but it doesn't give you a lot of advantage off the corner because you've set yourself up so tight in behind that you can't use your momentum. So think about how you are when you're on that undercut strategy. as the defender, and then you're on the overcut as the attacker. Just really think about how you're going to use that new tyre to your advantage. It's the exit drive. It's into the braking zone, making a pass is the opportunity. So this is the type of track where that's going to come into it. Braking really hard and getting up underneath the car isn't going to work necessarily as well as you think. So yeah, something to have a bit of a think about. But anyway, that's Adelaide. Have fun. Good luck. And we will drop some comments if you've got any questions. Like I said, if you want to do something different, by all means, let me know as well. But how good's that? Sub speed, SSR, Mustang look. Here's guys.